Welcome to the Sports Marketing Machine Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Nizer. Today we have a very special podcast as I sit down with Alan Sanchez from the People's Media Relations and AlanSanchezMedia.com. We talk about how teams can get free television coverage for their games. We're going to dig into how it benefits the team and the TV station, what the formula or process teams should follow to pitch the media to get free television coverage, and how often you should pitch media ideas. So before we get to it, if you're finding value in the content that I've been creating in this podcast, please share it with someone just like you, someone who's working their tail off, trying to get more fans to their games and grow their fan base. So without further ado or further delay, let's dive right in with Alan Sanchez from the People's Media Relations and AlanSanchezMedia.com to talk about how teams can get free television coverage. Welcome to the Sports Marketing Machine Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Nizer. Today, super excited to welcome the great Alan Sanchez from the People's Media Relations Group. And we're going to talk about today how teams can get TV coverage for free. So, Alan, before we dig into it and talk about formulas and processes and how you pitch and all that fun stuff, let's talk a little bit about your background. You're a former TV guy, right?
Yeah, I'm a former TV reporter. I started in about 2003, local news station out of Modesto called Central Valley Report. Did that for a few years as a student TV reporter. Did a lot of independent stuff on cable access. Probably like 10 people watched it, but it really was able to get my foot in the door. From there, I went into a little bit with the local Comcast out of San Joaquin County area, when it was the California Cougars, which is the indoor soccer team that played out of the Stockton Arena. That was my first little bit bigger regional doing stuff with television and sports, because I'm a massive sports fan, massive. That's why I'm happy to be a part of this podcast. And then from there, we did an internship with Channel 31's Good Day Sacramento, turned in straight into a television reporter job. Did that combination because I left for a little bit to work in the hard news out in the Bay Area in the NBC market at Monterey for a few years, but a combination about 20 years in the business, and now I'm on the other side trying to get people onto TV, businesses and events.
Yeah, so let's talk about your experience that was on television. So you kind of understood when someone came to you and said, hey, I'd love for you to come out and talk about X or talk about Y. And us sports team marketers, we always want TV coverage and we want it for free and we want everyone to come out and our ballparks to be full. But when folks came to you and said, hey, what do you think about this idea? Was there a certain filter that you work through? Let's talk through that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's one of the biggest things is why a lot of places, events, businesses, teams, whatever it might be, they have great ideas. They have a great product and they know it. They just maybe don't know how to package it for the public when it comes to media relations. So they would come up with me that great idea and I'd be like, okay, let's do a story. Okay, great. Our game is at this time. It's well, we're a morning show, which is what I worked with particularly. Well, our game's not till nighttime. It's like, well, we don't. They have to work around the the media's format. You have to. Period. Now, and the hard part is could be a little ego into some of the management of the, especially sports team, is that, well, we're an affiliate of this professional team and we're affiliated. They should. I understand that, and it's nothing personal, but I know what I can offer you. I can only offer you morning. Now more than ever, there is such a competition for media space because there's two things. One, you're competing back in my day when I was a kid, it was just what's on TV. That's it. What was on radio? That's it. Now it's what's on your phone, what's on your computer, what's on your tablet, what's on your laptop, whatever. So you compete with all that. So my point is this: it's more competition, and there is less personnel working in the news business. So there's less reporters, there's less photographers, there's less producers, but there's actually more time. So it's a weird. I got less work, but I have less personnel, but I have more time to fill. So there's an opportunity there, but you also have to work around the format of the media. So when I get those, well, we don't play until nighttime. I understand that. So can you bring out players in the morning? Well, they might be tired. Okay, I am trying to give you organic free TV coverage, something that you would have to pay a lot of money for to maybe get a commercial that hopefully hits at the right time with the right viewership. Or you can, if they're already watching the news, why not be part of that instead of commercial comes on and I'm gonna walk away, go grab my chips, go grab my drink, or whatever it might be, and then you're totally not gonna miss the commercial ad because no people, most people, and I haven't met a person yet besides the Super Bowl, where they say, "Oh man, I can't wait till the commercials come on to this newscast." No one has ever said that. So, or whatever show. It doesn't have this would be the news, but whatever your favorite show is, no one ever thinks about what's in. Especially with being able to record your shows with DVR, you can just pass right through that stuff. So that's what I do. Is I, as a television reporter, realized there I started producing a lot of the segments, meaning like, hey, give me these elements. And then they come to find out when they try to even do the first steps of finding out if they can have the elements, most people are pretty receptive to it. Oh, I don't know if the players want to be there. They ask the players, oh yeah, they do want to be there because they're players maybe from another state. And now with able to sharing, they can watch it live if they have family in Missouri, but they play in Stockton. They can watch it live on their phone. Before you couldn't watch local news live.
Mhm.
Um, so that's what I do is I had saw the need to educate those who have a great product. They just needed to someone to be an advocate for them to get to the media because I speak their language, whether it's radio, whether it's television, whether it's magazines, whether it's YouTubers who are looking to put content on their million followers, 2 million followers, whatever it might be. There's ways to speak their language, and when they realize what you're willing to offer them as content, your biggest issue is gonna be trying to fight them away.
Mhm. Yeah, so for sports teams, they absolutely want to get more fans to the ballpark.
Mhm,
Sometimes it's about promotion, sometimes
mhm,
it's human interest pieces, sometimes it's really just about some of the things that are happening, including from a fan experience perspective. Could be
mhm,
food, could be whatever it may be. So when we start talking about this formula, so teams could call you or they can follow a specific process.
mhm,
So let's talk through the process, talk through the pieces
mhm,
here. What are some elements that the teams need to think through before they call up their local TV station, say,
mhm.
hey, I got a story for you? What are
Right.
some of those pieces?
Well, it's what you're willing to offer. What are you willing to offer to them? If it's talking heads, you might as well just save your breath because you could ruin your reputation after that. If you say, "Hey, I got this great story on this baseball player who is, let's just say, he's a superstar in Japan, but no one knows him here in Stockton or Modesto or wherever it might be." How could and then they show up, well, oh, well, he's not available for interviews. You could talk to the general manager, and it's like I drove all the way down here. I planned my day. They sold it as a reporter to the higher ups, and then
Mm-hmm.
when they come back, like all we have is an interview and some pictures of the person. You've annihilated your reputation with that reporter, and
Mm-hmm.
you could tell them you're going to have someone from outer space coming in, and they're not going to show up because they need that confidence in you that you're going to give it to them. So that's why some people will hire me is that I am your credibility. You're hiring a credibility. You as an individual, as a team, as a business or event can have that, or you can hire that. It's either way. It's really up to you. Um, and so that's the main thing. So the first thing would be what are you willing to give the media, whether it's interviews, whether it's a full access to the stadium, whether it's, hey, we'll put a helmet cam on this player and let them hit some home runs, during let's say a practice or something that's set up during batting practice. You can get behind, like, what kind of access are you willing to give them? We realize and this is the television reporter hat on that I have on, that there's only so much you can do and I think a lot of teams, especially minor league teams, they have so much higher ups that media never sees, and they probably barely even see that they're afraid to cross certain lines because they want to respect the players. But At the same time, you might be surprised how many players want to be part of this because they have family outside, or they just like to be friendly. Or here's the other thing, and this is something that people don't realize, is that branding now more than ever is so important. Why not? If you are a small sponsor, you're partially sponsored by Nike or whatever big brand you are, you're wearing your hat on TV. You're sending that to
Mhm.
your agent. You send that to the company's agent and be like, hey, look what I did. And that might be a drop in the bucket for them because obviously they're international. But you've moved a little bit past. Let's say they have. You might not have the answer, but let's say they have 10,000 athletes in a contract, whatever it might be, from the biggest names, Ronaldo,
Mhm.
200 million to uh, Humboldt Crabs. I know them. It's a baseball team up in Humboldt County, and they are, I believe it's amateur or semi-pro,
Mhm.
and they may pay their person $100. So from the 10,000, from the 200 million to the $100 sponsor athlete, you want to try to get as close to the Ronaldo as you can,
Mhm.
as possible. What makes you different? Well, he volunteered to do media. Okay, now you just went past 500 people. Yeah, it's a drop in the bucket because they got 10,000. So my thing is when you, as a person who's looking to market their team or their event to the public, is what you can offer. How can you separate yourself by involving as many people as possible? And what's the hook? What is the hook that's going to bring the media in, but it's also got to bring in fans. So you might have a special interest story, but is it going to relate to fans? For example, if it was a Japanese baseball player, yeah, that's
Mhm.
pretty interesting, and it might bring out the Japanese community, the Asian
Mhm.
community that would love to be like, oh, that's great. I did never thought that they would be here in
Mhm.
Stockton. I didn't hear about that. Bam! Now you're getting, and then and especially if the player's extremely friendly, all about signing autographs, you can show that on television, and now the kids are coming out, they're signing autographs, and then as a parent of two young girls, we're always looking at family friendly events, and it's
Mhm.
always we look past local teams, and that's all. Every time you go to one, you're like, oh yeah, that's right. Almost every time, oh yeah, think about going to this local college game or a local basketball, local baseball game.
Mhm.
Um, and then you realize how much family and friendly and fun and safe event it is, and it's always usually worth the money because it's really you're not spending too much to be a part of it compared to going to an amusement park and then forget it. That's
Mhm. Yeah.
you're taking out loans for things like that.
Yep. Yeah. So you gave us three tips there. Number one, what are you willing to offer? Number
Hmm.
two, how do you separate yourself? And number three, what's the hook? So let's go through an example. Let's pretend I'm a marketing director for minor league hockey team. I've got great players. We've got an okay team, but we've got some great promotions coming up. Maybe it's a bobblehead giveaway. Maybe
Hmm.
it's a scarf giveaway or some sort of giveaway at the door. And I just want
Hmm.
to get some extra media coverage for it. So, what would be something? Could I go to you and say, hey, I'm willing to get my one of my goalies out, and maybe your morning show come shoot shots at my goalie,
Hmm.
something like that, or have my your person set up and be the goalie, and our guys shoot at
Hmm.
him, something like that, like something like involved. Is that kind of where we're going
Yeah.
here?
Yeah, and that's my thing. Get them as involved as possible, as far as you're willing to go, and that's my. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if it's like I give it like a restaurant. You go to a restaurant, and if you own the restaurant, you give the customer a menu of different items, probably 20,
Mm-hmm.
30, 40, 50, whatever it might be, 10 or whatever. But they're only no one ever picks all the items in the menu. They pick maybe one or two or three, whatever it might be. Taste a little bit of this, taste a little bit of that, or they pick one big plate. But the fact that you say, "Here, I have this for you. You pick what you would like." That makes them feel good, as if you were a customer in a
Mm-hmm.
restaurant. That makes me feel good that you're not forcing me to. I must only eat this one plate. Whether you want the plate or not, it really doesn't matter. It just makes you feel like you have choices, you have variety, and that's what you want to offer the media. Offer them, we're willing to do all this for you. You just tell us what you want, without the pressure of them feeling they have to eat everything on the menu or they have to pick everything that you've offered them. Because then there's the opposite where you have too many things to offer them, but you're like, you must interview the sales rep from the Northwest of Spalding for your basketball team, and they're like, okay, that may be interesting to you, it may be interesting to people in the business, but not for the overall community.
Hmm.
That's not going to bring people in. So don't pressure the media to have to cover everything. Be grateful that they're giving you organic media coverage, meaning you're not paying for it. Um, and be happy if they give you 90 seconds. You most especially now how
Hmm.
the turn is, because keep it fresh, keep it going. You should be extremely happy. And the best part about that is, well, they only played 90 seconds. Who's going to watch those 90 seconds? The best part is that you can take that, because they always clip it to YouTube or to other websites, and you can use that. And you can use it as with social media. You could pay for advertisement that way, and it's a fraction of the price of television.
Hmm.
You win on television, you're taking that news story and you're using it as part of your promotion. Um,
Hmm.
so so that's really the main thing, is give them as much as you can, but don't force them to eat everything, and don't give them a little bit of a choice. That's gonna be
Sure.
really important to them.
So if you gave them five things, so I'm still pretending I work for this hockey team.
Hmm.
I'm director of marketing, and
Sure.
I came up with five different ideas, but I really want to promote this bobblehead giveaway
Hmm.
or T-shirt giveaway or whatever it may
Hmm.
be. And I've got a list. Who am I emailing at the TV station? Am I emailing a reporter? Am I emailing the meteorologist? Who am I emailing?
Well, really, it just depends. So this is where you can do everything you can do on your own, or you could hire someone. I don't keep clients long, because my goal, there's so much opportunity out there, so many different people who need help. I try to get them as educated as possible, and then allow them to go if they want to inquire. That's totally fine. My point is that I have already built those relationships with the reporters, where I know their style, I know what time that they work, I know what they like when it comes to, this person wants to cover hard news, so they don't want to run around in let's say I think one time for the Stockton Ports baseball team, I dressed up as their banana suit. But I realized that fit my
Uh-huh.
criteria of what I was trying to do.
Sure.
But a serious reporter who, let's just say, the every home run they're donating so much to a kid in need, he's not going to want to be in that banana suit. So, but I
Hmm.
know that because I built a relationship. So if a person is in sports marketing, and especially if they are new to the area, which happens a lot of people come from different parts of the country, and they're like, okay, I'm new. They have the basics. They get to with the local newspaper, the local radio station. That's fantastic. But you have to know what they like and what they
Hmm.
do and what makes them happy. So build those relationships with them by reaching out to them. And now as you have social media, before it was like an email address that you may or may not go to the reporter. Now you can direct your social media. You can direct message them and get that information from them, and build those relationships and say, what are you looking for? What kind of stories do you want? And get on the radar. So when you reach out to them, you've already have communication with them. You're building credibility, because the hardest part, and in our particular situation here in the Central Valley, is that the news stations, where if you're Modesto, especially, is that both of them are about 90 minutes away. San
Hmm.
Francisco, or three of them, I should say, San Francisco area, Sacramento area, Fresno area. They're all about 90 minutes away. So they have to, you have to sell it to them, and then they take it and sell it to a news director that you'll never see,
Hmm.
never talk to. And I've been in those meetings. They're extremely critical, and they're extremely critical for the right reasons, because they realize they are the okay. You as a reporter are only bringing them one plate. This is my plate for the day. I'm bringing to this
Uh-huh.
potluck of a newscast.
Hmm.
And that they're the head person. They got to make sure everything works, because when they serve it to the customer, the viewer, um, they want to make sure that it's good for that. They want to try everything. So you so they're afraid of having a bad story. So if you are willing to, like we talked about before, with the elements that you're willing to give, what you're willing to do, um, and if you built that relationship, they're like, okay, every time you reach out to them, oh, no problem. They'll go blind. They'll go
Hmm.
into not had really seen all the elements. But at the start, you'll have to deal with your own ego of, why are you asking me if I'm going to have the player available? Of course, I'm having the player available, because I'm telling you
Uh-huh.
this is the player that is from another country who's big over there who was let's say a pop star and now is just going to
Mhm.
the minor league. Okay, that's fine. Don't be offended. I know, but they don't know you enough to, and they're taking a risk driving 90 minutes away with the hope it's going to be worth it. And there's been situations that I've personally been on as a reporter. I've driven very far and I show up and I thought it was going to be this thing and it ended up being a tiny, tiny little thing and extremely disappointed. And I
Mhm.
never would go back. Never. It's too much of a
Mhm.
risk because it's not
Sure.
like I'm doing it for my YouTube page where I can, and this is live television when we do it
Mhm.
for us. And if they're a tape segment like 11 o'clock news, 5 o'clock news, they um, have one shot. They have a deadline. If they have a
Mhm.
deadline and it's got to be done, so we don't want to make uh, something that's nothing into something. We really want to make something that's fantastic and just be more worried about. We're not going to be able to put everything in there. That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we start talking about it, and we'll recap the tips in just a
Hmm.
second. But what are some things if I'm a marketing director for a sports team? What are
Hmm.
some things that are like right off the top of my head? I know food is one that we've
Hmm.
talked about before. Where if you've got some interesting things on your menu, that's
Hmm.
marvelous. And we were just talking about having a professional athlete or even a student athlete that's not necessarily from here, but potentially is really popular from where they're from. What are some other things that sports teams can take a look at their own
Hmm.
situation and say, you know what, this might be a good hook here?
Well, so I would this is what I would tell people is just if you especially if you've got a smaller staff is and if you don't really have a department or the budget to do an outside hire, talk to your family.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, who are maybe not really into the team or whatever it might be. Here are some ideas that I have about trying to get the news out. And what do you think? Would this interest you if you saw it on TV? And hopefully they would tell friends or family, whoever might be. Um, so those would be the first things because it's hard because it might be again important to you, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
going to bring someone in. Oh, this person is has a great batting average. And it's like, yes, and I understand that, but this is a
Mm-hmm.
local team. You got to sell the experience. It's all got to be about the experience. We are family friendly and we're safe and fun. That should be the easiest stuff right off the top. Family friendly, safe and fun. Because from there, if you're a family member, one, you're not going by yourself. Okay, so you're usually gonna have at least another one, most likely three or four. So there's four different hands, or just say four pairs of hands right there, and four people who are going to want to eat, who are going to
Mm-hmm.
want to sit, who are going to want the treats and want the merchandise. So that's what you're trying to do. Overall, you want to bring people so you can have as many sales as possible. Um, so sell that is first thing right off the top. Now, if you're looking for unique ideas, how you can get people involved when it comes to reporters, how can you get them involved? What could they do that Joe Schmo couldn't do necessarily? Whether it's taking batting practice or it's being a PA announcer, local teams do a really good job about doing special nonprofit nights, charity nights, which is fantastic. With it, and I think famously, the local hockey team used to do the pink ice at
Mm-hmm.
the Stockton Thunder, and you couldn't get a seat. I mean, it was 10,000 strong, and it holds 10,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because the ice is pink. Like, why does that?
Mm-hmm.
Because I colored the ice. Now on paper, but it's a fantastic event because they do a lot of jersey giveaways. They raise a lot of money for good organizations, and then they have those organizations work for them. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, they say, "Hey, we love to give you. You sell these tickets, and we'll donate towards the charity that." Okay, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, the news is going to be like, "Wow, this is a must-go event because there's 10,000 people here." And we can get into the stories where how hockey is helping out, let's say, someone who is a survivor of cancer. Then from there, you can start cultivating. You only have to give enough for the reporter to be able to get their hands over in the dirt. So once they're in, they're digging because that's what they do. That's what they love. That's why they
Mm-hmm.
got in the business. They just need a little bit. Now, of course, you would want to give them as much as possible because then it makes digging a little bit easier, especially on days that they may be short on time. which is a whole different aspect we got to
Mhm.
talk to you about, is that you may have a great idea, but it has to fit in within their deadline. You have to
Mhm.
think, and this is very key for people because I think there's a big misconception that the media is going to stay for your entire event, and that's not going to happen.
Nope.
They can
Mm-mm.
100%. You are totally invited to stay. Let me buy you a hot dog and let's hang out. They're not going to stay because they have other stories to go to, or they got to
Mhm.
go back up to the news station and edit it and write the scripts like that. I tell people if you can get everything in within, I say, what was it, 45 minutes to 90 minutes. If you can get it in there, time, then you're set. So don't have
That's
so
right.
many things so complicated where they
Mhm.
can't get it into that time because you're like, oh well, the game's another 4 hours. Sorry,
Yep.
I gotta go. I can't stay.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, before we kind of recap the tips here,
Sure.
how many times is too many? We used to have this rule when I was with the River Cats that you
Mm-hmm.
had 6 bullets with media, local media.
Mm-hmm.
You could only
Mm-hmm.
go to them maybe once a month because
Mm-hmm.
media TV stations right now, if you went every
Mm-hmm.
week, do you think that's overkill?
Mm-mm. No.
Really?
Look, here's the thing. Let's say you, Jeremy, you're the sports marketer for a local team. We'll just use baseball because I know you have experience with a lot of different teams. But
Hmm.
like the River Cat, if they want to come out every day, you saying no?
Nope. Come
Okay,
on. Yep.
okay, right, right. If they let's say if they wanted to put a weather desk at the baseball park and every day they did the weather from the baseball park, are you saying no?
No, I would not say no.
Exactly, exactly. You take all that. So yes, hit them with everything because they are bombarded with ideas, whether it's sports related, whether it's human interest, crime, especially crimes, because crime sells. They're bombarded. So you're not. It's not like your go. It's not. It's not like a salesman where it's the same salesman coming up to you every day at your door. This is a warehouse where there's just
Hmm.
people dropping stuff off left every single. You just sign packages off every. So you're not over because you don't know what's going to stick. Because
Hmm.
there's two things, and I've told this, and this is a tip, insider tip. I've told this to as a reporter, so I'm putting back my reporter hat to many uh, businesses and events, and I say, you send me as many ideas as you want. If you send me 20 ideas, but I only do two or three, that's two or three I wouldn't have known before.
Hmm. Correct.
And all of the people who I've talked to, like, oh yeah, we'll take the two or three
Hmm.
because you might you might not know what's going to stick. And then here's the other thing: you start to understand the flavor of that news
Hmm.
station, of that reporter, and you can understand what style of you also what kind of style of reporting they're going to do for each show. Whether it's the morning show, it's obviously lighter. If it's an afternoon show, it's a little bit harder news. And then as
Hmm.
you get later in the day, it gets a little more serious. So okay, you got to start to find that from there. And so that's the best part. And then as it changes with different reporters and different news report producers and management, you'll see it change, and you're like, oh, I could tell that they're liking these stories over these stories. Okay, I let me formulate stories for them that way. So I just send them all. Like if they're going to come
Yeah.
out every day, why not build that relationship? Because they want to see how eager you are. But now
Hmm.
on the other side, make sure it's again back to my points before. Make sure it's really worth it for them. Don't just say, "Hey, it's a free bobblehead night," and it's like, okay, that's great, but what are you going to give? Oh, well, it's a free bobblehead of George Lucas because he's from Modesto, and the Modesto Nuts
Hmm.
want to. Okay, and what else? Well, it's during May the Fourth be with you. Okay, here we go. Now we're
Now
like
we're getting
we
some.
got
Yeah, yeah.
we're getting
You got to
somewhere. We
stack
got
it.
a little
Yep.
bit. You got to stack it, and so
Yep.
now it's worth it. But if it's just, oh, it's bobblehead night of our mascot. Okay, I'll have fun. Hopefully people have a great time, but I'm not going to come out for just that.
Yep.
Um, but if it's bobblehead of that night of our mascot, and our mascot is going to get on a BMX bike and do flips during the seventh inning stretch, was he willing to do it on TV? Yeah, he will. Okay, I want to be
All
there for
right.
bobblehead night. So you got to give
Yep.
him a little bit of everything. It can't just be that. So just because here's the thing, you can still send them as much as you can, but the problem is that if they realize it's just a bunch of boring little tiny little tidbits, You're just going to ignore your emails. You're going to see it. Oh, that's so and so.
Mhm.
Next, I'm not going to even read it.
Yeah.
And which is another little tidbit. When you write your press releases or emails, make sure within the first 4 or 5 sentences is the hook. Then you can have all the good stuff after that. But if you're gonna have four, I mean 4 or less, because they're only gonna read maybe 4. So if you're doing bobblehead night with the mascot and you're doing the BMX thing where they're doing a big flip and trying to go for the longest BMX bike flip ever, start with that. Don't
Gotcha.
start with, well, we're celebrating our mascot after 50 years of being this and this and that. And then at the bottom, he's going to do the world record. If it's at the bottom, forget you've lost that opportunity. Start off
Right.
with he's going to go for the world record and happens to be bobblehead night.
Yep. All right, so let's go through the elements for sports
Sure.
teams for them to be able to do it. Number one, what are they willing to offer? What are you willing to give? Are you giving access, interviews? How do you get that reporter involved in something? Second, how do you separate yourself? So, what are some things that are kind of unique about what you're about to offer? Which leads to number three, what's the hook? Why should they come? And when you email them, it has to be in the first few sentences of what's so special, what's the hook. The fifth tip is think about before you pitch it, why would this be intriguing or interesting for the overall community as a whole? And number six, don't be afraid to send ideas often, but keep in mind they have to have substance and are worth it. I miss anything?
No, that's exactly you've said it better than I actually presented it. So I appreciate that because I'm going to re-listen to this and be like, oh, these are all great ideas. Because one of my things is I love this business so much. I have a passion for it. I've wanted to be part of media since I was 5 years old, 5 years old, and I have a passion for sports. So I do see a lot of things through that lens, and I'm seeing what works, and that's not because I know everything. I definitely don't. I'm still learning this business. I'm learning a lot from you and listening to your podcast, but I also have seen what worked. So I've tried everything. And I've worked on the other side, so I know what I liked, and I knew what my producers liked. So I turned around and did the same thing as a media relations specialist, and then some of it hasn't worked, and then so I've had to change tactics. And so far, so good. We just won a business award less than a month ago. We're up to our next in clients, thankfully, and it's working. It's working right now. And if the industry changes, we're willing to adapt.
This is fantastic. So these six elements that we went through, they can work not only just in Northern California, they can work anywhere in the United States.
Anywhere.
And you can help them. So how would teams reach out to you and connect with you?
Well, my thing is reach out to my website. Right now it's alansanchezmedia.com. I'm at the People's Media Relation. We just changed it to that because we really want it. It's really for everybody. It's for the people. We want to give a chance for everybody who has a great idea, great team, great event, and they just never had a chance. This is their chance to work with somebody who's been in the business. So you can go to People's Media Relation on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Twitter. We're always posting, we're always putting stuff up, and you can see what I do, and you don't have to wonder if it works or not. You can see it for yourself, and then if you see if we can work together, I tell people, let's do a free consultation. I might not be the perfect person for you. I might know somebody who can work with you, or you might find out it's not really you're ready for it. Totally fine. I totally understand. I'm just a working blue collar stiff, and I'm just here to help people who have a great idea, a great event, a great team, looking to really show the world what they do.
Fantastic. Well, Alan, I appreciate you spending some time talking about how teams can get free TV coverage. Thank you for taking the curtain, pulling it back, and giving everyone the formula. But if teams really need someone to handhold them and help them, please reach out to People's Media, alansanchezmedia.com. Feel free to reach out to you, and happy to help wherever you can, right?
Absolutely. We got to do this. I love talking shop. So anytime you want to talk shop, let's do this.
Absolutely. Well, Alan, thank you for coming on to the podcast, and hope you have a great one.